Sometime back, one of my mentors shared a copy of his book with a handwritten note in it. And I'm going to read that note. It said, "You're one of the colleagues who has always challenged me and never accepted anything without adequate logic. Stay that way." To date, I still feel good reading about it. But what amazes me is how comfortable he was with arguments and disagreements. And what a wonderful way to also make your team comfortable with the idea of disagreeing by acknowledging that it was a useful thing to do. Sometimes we might feel good when somebody just nods at everything that we say and admit, "Oh, yeah, I feel exact same thing. I feel in the exact same way," instead of sharing their real opinion about an idea. To be fair, agreeing is usually easier than confronting someone, and disagreeing seems to have developed itself a very negative connotation. There's definitely a cultural angle to it, and people in certain cultures, people who disagree, are labeled as difficult. But what has also been observed in research and interviews about conflict at work is that most people don't want to disagree or actually don't know how to do it. In fact, we've come to equate that saying, "I see it differently," or "I don't agree," with being rude, with being angry, with being unkind, so that it actually makes people feel horribly uncomfortable. What if disagreeing is exactly what the other person wishes you to do, as long as you do it with respect and empathy? Tammy Gallo is a contributing editor at HBR and has written a couple of books around getting along, how to work well with people, and also the HBR guide to dealing with conflict. And she shares about this incident when she worked as a management consultant in her early days of her career. She had this client who she thought was difficult. Let's call her client Margaret. Margaret and Amy didn't see eye to eye on much. In fact, Margaret disagreed on the direction in which the project was being taken, the people who were chosen to be involved in the project, the pace of the project, and everything else. But because Margaret was her client, Amy was just starting out on her career as well. She decided that it wouldn't be in her place to openly disagree with her. Instead, Amy started forwarding every mail that Margaret would send to one of her colleagues, and she complained about how Margaret was making a bad decision. She was not heeding to her arguments, her approaches. And one day, instead of forwarding the mail to the colleague, she presses reply, where she thought she was complaining to her coworker, but she was actually sending Margaret a direct email about what a pain she felt she was. 15 seconds after pressing send, Amy realizes what she has done and she says, "I'm going to get fired." But she thought it's better to get it over with, and she goes over to her boss's desk and confesses to everything. To her surprise, he doesn't get mad or threaten to, send her packing. He just said, "Go and apologize." Now, Margaret's office was pretty close to where her own office was in Midtown Manhattan. And her boss also suggested that she stop on the way at a florist and pick up some flowers as a way to apologize. At this point, Amy is thinking maybe it's better off if she just quit. And she's really not looking forward to meeting Margaret and apologizing. But she realizes that what her boss says might be the right thing to do. So she shows up in Margaret's office with an inappropriately large bouquet and gives it to Margaret. And Margaret just laughs. She says, "Yeah, it happens sometimes. And I would really prefer that the next time you disagree with me, just tell me so that we could talk about it." And Amy says this was the most generous and helpful advice that she has ever got. When people feel safe enough to raise their hands to say, "I've made a mistake," or "I need help," or "I disagree with you," It also implies the leader has created an environment where people feel safe to be themselves. Now, where at work could you use this example? You could share this as a way to encourage your teams to speak up and build a great working relationship which is full of trust and respect. Or you could use it in a time to say that it's important for people to share their opinion, but find a way to do it respectfully and empathetically. What do you think? Do share your thoughts in the comments, and I'd love to hear how it went for you.